Greetings, Peter Nelson here, CEO of Full Service Property Management. In April, we had a couple of virtual town halls with both our clients as well as our tenants to help everybody just navigate through this pandemic in its early stages because it had us all gripped. But I really haven't updated anything since then, and I thought now would be a really good time to bring you up to speed on where we are in the whole process. First, the good news, and that is that the Seattle rental market, the strength of it continues unabated. We are seeing historically low vacancy rates. I started tracking actually our vacancy shortly before this pandemic hit in January of this year. And we've been under 3% vacancy the entire time. And I've been in this business for decades and I've never seen anything like that. So it's really unprecedented. We continue to see a very strong brokerage market. Basically, I think people are still wanting to move to Seattle, and it's just hitting the roof with both rents as well as housing prices and list times. List times for brokerage for houses for sale is easily under 30 days. I haven't checked on it recently. And our turn time for available rentals is now under about 22 days, which was kind of our standard. We're now probably in, I don't have a firm number, I apologize. It's probably in about the 16-day, 17-day period. So really quick turnovers. And a lot of that is due to the strength of this market, but there's also a little bit of it that I think we should be able to take credit for, because we do have a very unique, a very proprietary way of measuring the amount of traffic we get on our available rentals and adjusting our price to make sure that we get real quick lease ups. So that's the good news. There's probably more good news. Maybe I'll slide it in here later. In terms of some of the not so good news, in June, I think it was, Congress passed the Coronavirus Relief Act, and that provided $600 bonuses into an expanded unemployment program. Those $600 bonuses ended in early August. Since that time, we have seen a spike. Up until that point, we were at extremely low. There was like 1 or 2, something like that. But in August, we started seeing a spike, and in September, that has continued. We are currently roughly at about 8% of our portfolio has either not paid anything for the month of September or has paid partial rent for the month. So if you're part of that 92%, it's business as usual. If you're part of that 8%, it can be a difficult time. First of all, I want to let you know that we're here for you. I also want to let you know that there's an eviction moratorium in effect in Washington State through October 15th. We don't know if it'll be extended or not. My hope and my prayer is that it won't be. The eviction moratorium itself hasn't impacted us. We're quite proud of the fact that in our 9 years of existence, we've only had one eviction. So we just don't evict tenants B. And that's owing to, again, a really good and proprietary tenant screening method that I developed through 28 years of leasing property. So the eviction part of that moratorium hasn't impacted us. What has impacted us, though, is that eviction moratorium expanded a lot of what we can and we can't do. We can't serve notices on people. Our hands are tied. So if you're one of those 8% where your tenant has either not paid all or even some of the rent, our hands are tied. And there isn't anything really that we can do until October 15th. Heck, they won't even let us post a notice in advance that October 15th is coming up. The earliest that we can post a 14-day notice to pay rent or vacate is October 16th. So our hands are literally tied. What we are doing is, and we did this in May early on, we've been very proactive in this regard. But what we can and have been doing is getting payment plans in place with those tenants that have been negatively impacted. The purpose of the plans is twofold. One is to basically inform the tenant that, yeah, they still do have an obligation. This we're not forgiving their rent, we're just delaying it, and they would do well to get on a payment plan to reduce the impact of that when this moratorium does roll off. The other part of that is so that we can help them manage the repayment of that. Our approach to this is to come alongside our tenants and help them. Carrying a baseball bat, I've found is early on, it just does not work. And it's a whole lot better because if we can help the tenants, we also help you, our clients. So that's been our approach first and foremost, is to help our tenants try to navigate through this as best as they can, give them resources to help them come up with funds so that when this moratorium does get repealed or ends, that their balance owing is not that great, so that they feel overwhelmed and we have to move them out. So we're working feverishly on that, get those payment plans in place. We honestly anticipate that most of our tenants, nearly all of them, do have really good intentions and are intending to pay. There's a very, very, very minute minority that are riding this for all they can, and then they're going to get bounced out. So, and when the eviction moratorium comes, it's my expectation that we still will not evict them, that we'll be able to get them out without having to go to court and all the expensive and time-consuming process that involves. That's about it that I can think of. If you have any questions, by all means, get in touch with us. I do want to reach out to you that if you are feeling the impacts of not being paid or not being paid all of the rent. First of all, there is a thing called mortgage forbearance, where a mortgage company will suspend your mortgage payments and they will just tack them on to the end of your mortgage. It lengthens the time that you have to pay them back, but it can really help when you're not getting in the rent that you need. So that's probably the biggest resources available to you. And so if you are struggling with your payments because the tenant is not, is not paying the rent, by all means, contact your mortgage company. Nearly all of them have this plan, and ask them about mortgage forbearance. If that's still not enough, I'd like to be a resource for you. Please get in touch with us. We're happy to help you as well as our tenants get through this pandemic. We know it's a struggle, and we know the screws have been turned even tighter as a result, because this thing isn't going away and the unemployment checks are drying up, etc. So by all means, get in touch with us. We're happy to help. That's about it for the status. Again, real strong momentum. Oh, one last thought. People ask us all the time, well, is it a good time to be renting? And I tell them there hasn't been a better time in the 30 years that I've lived in Seattle. And what happened is in April, everything came to a grinding halt. And if you had a vacancy, we were just marking time because nobody was doing anything. Everything was at a standstill. By May, things started to loosen up to the point where we actually got to that 0% vacancy. It's the first and only time. Since that time, though, we are seeing, turnovers, again, our vacancy rate is below 3%. Most of those vacancies are from new properties that we've brought into our portfolio. So again, it's a very tight market, especially for people looking for rentals. But more importantly, what we've discovered too was that about by mid-May or so, yeah, the market was picking back up. People were out looking. The only people that were looking were people that we consider to be qualified tenants. And by that, I mean the people that that we wouldn't lease to. They recognize that they were in a tough situation and they are now looking to change their situation. So the only people that are looking to rent a place right now are people that can afford it and have the rental references and the other criteria that we look for. So, so it is a good time to be leasing up property, and it's a good time to be, I think, a property owner in Seattle. People say, well, you've had a really strong run up in the market, and we have for the last like 8 or 10 years. The market's been going straight up in terms of net asset value. People ask, well, should I sell? I'm still quite bullish on the market. My wife and I own rental property here in Seattle, and we are not selling any of it. I believe that this economic stratification that's occurring, for which I'm not happy about, but that's what's occurring, is making affordability a bigger issue for a lot of people, even as the brokerage market continues, even as people are buying in Seattle. I don't think they're going to be buying in other parts of the country like they are. I think affordability is still a big issue. And I believe that having rentals is going to be a bigger and bigger deal, that there will be a growing rental pool of residents in the United States looking for rentals. And for that reason, I believe that demand will continue and that we will continue to see a strong rental market. So that's my outlook. Hey, if I had a crystal ball, maybe I wouldn't be managing property. I don't know, but you can take it for what it's worth. Again, that's all I've got for you right now. Thanks for watching. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, by all means, get back in touch. Happy to help you guys get through this. And once again, thanks for trusting your rental property with us. We do greatly appreciate it. We don't take that lightly. And we hope that we know we have your back, and we hope that you appreciate all that we're doing for you. Take care.